I put so much thought into the products that go into my home and the stuff that I get from my home. I honestly, I spend hours researching, I don't know, silicone mugs or whatever it might be. And it's difficult to find natural, non-toxic utensils and furniture and pillows and duvets and everything else. It's frustrating. It's a reality that many of us face. And that is why I'm so excited to have Miss Biohacker on the podcast. This is long awaited. And you will know if you follow her on Instagram that whenever she posts about anything, she gets such a reaction because she researches stuff in depth. And, I think the focus of this podcast is a home detox, is about reducing toxins in your home and supercharging your health. And she is the person to help you.
Hi, I'm Tony. I'm an author, presenter at Sky Sports, and years ago I went to the jungle and got ill. Very ill. So this is my podcast adventure to find more energy. It's packed with biohacking, science, health tech, supplements, and some of the most well-known experts on the planet.
This is something I spent 4 months of my life doing with electrodes glued to my head so that you can do a lifetime worth of meditation.
Decide what you don't give a fuck about, which is something you don't care about.
Some of it gets quite out there.
I had some stem cells sent up to my house that I had stored, and then I injected myself with mannitol.
And we even hack hangovers.
Alcohol is poisonous. So is water and oxygen in the wrong dosage.
So that's my podcast, Zestology. Live life with energy, vitality, and motivation.
Welcome back to Zestology. Tony Wrighton here, and today's podcast is Laura Ruffner, otherwise known as @MissBiohacker on Instagram. And we actually met here in Portugal a few weeks ago, but we didn't record a podcast. We just hung out in the sunshine and we planned on doing a podcast. We are going to do one in person here in Portugal at some point. But Miss Biohacker finally makes an appearance on Zestology. I've been looking forward to this for ages. And today we're focusing specifically on detoxing your home, as that is something she is famous for. And she sells courses on it, she helps clients with it, and she posts these incredibly informative Instagram posts on it as well. And she says that most of us spend a staggering 90% of our day indoors. And that is why it's absolutely crucial to make your home a sanctuary of safety and not full of toxins. So that's what we recorded the podcast on. I loved recording this. I'm very happy about it. As you'll hear, I was in a very small, slightly tinny booth in Portugal and in a tiny co-working space, and so we'll find out how it sounds. But I hope you enjoy this from Laura Ruffner on Zestology. Laura, how you doing?
Very good. And you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Did I get your name right?
You did.
Excellent. It's really good to talk to you. We should have done this when we met in person in Portugal.
Yeah, we should have.
But we'll do some in-person Portugal recordings soon.
Maybe next year.
I've been really excited to chat to you, and I've got a long list of things that I want to talk about. But maybe start by introducing yourself to my audience and what you do.
Yes, of course. So I started working as a nutritionist 8 years ago. Really early, because I was always super passionate about my own health, and I always wanted to, optimize myself in a natural way. I mean, it was not always like that. Usually, like most people in the space, they have their own health issues, and that leads them to dig a bit deeper. And for me, it was the same way. So when I was 16, I was put on birth control. And I got really sick from it, not sick, but I had these typical symptoms, like I gained weight and I didn't feel like myself anymore. I had bad mood swings and I was not really educated about it. So I just took it. But I felt that something was not right, especially because I gained around 16 kilos in half a year. And That was a red flag. And I knew, okay, I need to change something, because at that time I was already going like 6 times a week to the gym, kickboxing. So I did a lot of sports, but apparently that was not enough to prevent the weight gain. So I became really interested in weight loss and fitness. And then I just started to track my calories, just the typical fitness stuff. I tracked my calories, I ate less, I lost the weight, obviously, but not in the most healthy way. And then I just wanted to know more about nutrition. So I became a certified nutritionist, and that was the start of my journey. But later I started studying nutrition science in Munich. I worked in a clinic for lipedema surgery and developed health plans for clients. So I worked with a lot of women that wanted to lose weight and that had lipedema. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
Okay, it's like a condition that the fat cells are altered, so they're not functioning normally anymore, and they have problems losing weight in areas like butt, hips, arms, and it's a condition. So you can really get it when you go to the doctor. He can give you a diagnosis if you have lipedema, and I mean the normal way, the conventional way, says the only way to heal lipedema is surgery. Well, what I observed with my clients, that's not true. There are other ways to do that, but you get it.
Yeah. It's a story time and again in this world, isn't it? And I've been thinking about that a lot recently because I've just, as you know, I've been working on this course, which is really sort of marrying what goes on with mindset with what goes on with health. And so many people in our world are sort of doing all the right things, but they just can't quite get to where they want to be with health. And often it's down to mindset. Often it's down to natural supplements or sort of different lifestyle protocols as well. But it's sort of thinking outside the box in terms of how you heal.
Yeah, I get that, because what I also observed in these patients, because they already knew from the beginning the only way to heal lipedema would be surgery, they were in that victim mindset. And they were like, I can change my diet, but it doesn't bring me anything anyways. But the ones that implemented these lifestyle changes, they lost weight in the areas they were told they can't lose weight.
Wow.
It's like a limiting belief they had.
A limiting belief. Yeah. Which is exactly one of the things that I work on with people. That's amazing. There's have you heard of Dr. Claire Weeks?
No.
She's one of my heroes. She wrote a book in the 50s or 60s, I think, called Self-Help for Your Nerves, which is very old-fashioned now. But she ended up being twice nominated for the Nobel Prize because her work on helping people calm their anxiety, especially when it's related to health, was so big. But the reason I thought of it is that she was diagnosed with tuberculosis in her 20s. And then, fatal. And then sort of spent 9 months thinking, well, I'm going to die, that's it. And then another doctor 9 months later said, actually, I think the first doctor got it wrong and you don't have tuberculosis. Yeah. So talk about a limiting belief, and I think that's what's really hard about, because health problems range from, I've got a bit of a sniffle to you've got stage 4 cancer. And all of those things can present some beliefs that really hold you back. And I guess what you're doing with your clients is saying, actually, there's a different way of approaching this.
Yeah. And there was actually another study done on that topic. I don't know it exactly anymore, and I don't know if it was really in a scientific setting. But what happened was there was a guy, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor told him yes, and I don't know, half. And he actually died, and then they did an autopsy after he died, and they realized, he didn't have that at all.
So what did they say he had?
Cancer. I think it was.
Oh my goodness.
And he didn't have it, but because he believed it so much, he actually died. So, and there's a lot of scientific literature about that how we think influences our genes. That's called psychoepigenetics.
Yeah.
Even like a lot of negative thoughts can turn on genes that are bad for us, and positive thoughts can turn on good genes. So
yeah, and it's really interesting because so that you've got the limiting beliefs, and then you've got what to do with them, which if you are diagnosed with cancer, firstly it's bloody hard because you've got cancer, but secondly it's reframing how you feel about it, which is also really hard. And it can sound very pop psychology. It can sound very Instagram. Hey, you just need to think a little bit more positive and you're going to be okay. But actually, unfortunately, even though it does sound very Instagrammable, you actually do need to reframe how you think. It's not just thinking positive. Thinking positive is not going to help anybody, but it's changing the way you think about the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Which I've been trying to get my 4-year-old son to do at the moment because he doesn't, well, he's still not really enjoying going to school. He likes school once he's there, but he doesn't like it when we drop him off. So I'm working on the reframe. I mean, it's the biggest test of my NLP skills, Laura, because like I'm trying everything. I'm like, mate, let's have a think about, what are the things that you like about school? And he'll start telling me, and then he still gets upset at the drop off. So my reframing skills need continuing with him.
Yeah, but I guess it will work over time.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, everyone says it does, but it's been a while. So that's amazing. Yeah. And then I saw that you've got an amazing history. You did 2 years military. You were in the military for 2 years as well, weren't you?
I was actually, I did military training for 2 years. And because at that time it was after school and I didn't know exactly what to do. I didn't know what to study, or I didn't want to go a year abroad. So I just said, I love fitness. I love challenging myself. So I just said, I take that challenge.
Yeah. Brilliant. And then fast forward to now and everything you've trained in with the nutrition. And it's firstly, you're Miss Biohacker and you get an incredible amount of engagement and following on Instagram with that. And then you help people with biohacking, but also a non-toxic home, which I geek out on. I absolutely geek out on a non-toxic home. So that's one of the things that I really love with what you do. So let's dive into our home a little bit. What's the sort of thing, what are your, top 3 things to really look at when it comes to the home?
So first of all, the reason we should look at our homes because most people spend around 90% of their day indoors, in winter even more. And especially in these times that so many people work in home office, they're home all day. So we really need to look at the place we spend most of our time in.
Yeah.
And
by the way, I keep thinking of what you said to me when we met up in Portugal and you came to my co-work space, didn't you? And you were like, well, if I was working here, I would just work outside here in this coffee table. Exactly. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that as well.
I mean, there are a lot of factors to the reasons that we should go more outside. It's not only because indoors there can be a lot of toxins that we're not really aware of. And that starts, I usually go room by room. Or let's start with the general advice that I usually give. It's indoor air. Oftentimes indoor air is really not that good because we have furniture that gases off. We have particulate matter from cooking. Sometimes we have mold issues like you.
Yeah.
So first of all, I look at indoor air, and the best tip for that is to, open your windows frequently, get fresh air, and that's the best thing you can do, unless you live in a big city and the outdoor air would be more polluted than the indoor air. Then it would not be a good idea, and in that case, I recommend an air filter.
Yeah. Is there any air filter you particularly like? I would love an air doctor, but they're pretty expensive, aren't they? Those ones.
They are. But I think for some people that really are the whole day indoors, that work in a home office and that have really bad outdoor air, I would really do that. And I know that a lot of people claim that plants are really good for indoor air, but I researched it and I researched it deeply. They do improve indoor air, but you would need to have so many plants for that to really make a difference. So, it's good to have them. They are also good for other reasons, for mood enhancement, etc. But for indoor air filtration, plants alone are not the thing I would recommend.
Yeah. It's interesting being here in Portugal. One of the things that I had no idea about was one of the areas that people have a real problem with their indoor air quality in hot countries is their air conditioner, isn't it? Because the AC, because there's all that sort of moisture going through the air conditioning all day long, it develops mold, and then it's literally pumping mold into your environment.
That's always the first thing I would check is the air conditioning. And that's a really bad point because a lot of them, they can't really do something about it because it's installed in the house they live in. And the only thing they can do is to call the service to do that. But that's often, really expensive.
Yeah.
They just have to move out and try to find a new home. But, it's not always that easy.
No, God, it's not. No. And so what do you mean by you check it? Do you get up on a chair and have a look in there and see if you can see anything?
Yes. You can often see it with the naked eye. But if you want to really know if you have mold in your home, you need a professional person to do that.
This is This is one of the things that really does my head in. It's so expensive to get a professional. You and I need to set up a professional mold inspection business, don't we? Because we'd be millionaires in no time.
Especially in Portugal, because Portugal is really, or Amsterdam is another city because of all the water.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I bet Amsterdam's really bad. Venice is probably the worst.
I had a client once. She was working in a building in Amsterdam. Or close to Amsterdam. And every time she went to work, she got sick. She had a headache, she had cycle issues. And then one time she realized that it has to do with her work, and even that the little flies and insects, they die. They always lay dead on the floor. And all her colleagues had the same. So it was her work building making her sick because of mold.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. But it was really severe. Was a really bad problem, and there was also not really good ventilation, so can really have an impact on us.
Yeah Interrupting this podcast for one moment to tell you some fairly thrilling news, and that is because the BIOptimizers Black Friday mega sale is in full swing. It's not just a one-day thing, it's happening throughout the entire month of November. BIOptimizers have been my partners here on Zestology for quite some time. As you know, I have unwavering trust in them. They are the real deal. I love their top-of-the-line Magnesium Breakthrough, which I take every day. And trust me, you won't find a better Black Friday deal anywhere else. Now, because it's the Black Friday deal, it's a slightly different address to normal. So if you want the biggest discount you can get and amazing gifts with your purchase as well for Black Friday, you can go to biooptimizers.com/Zestology and use the code Zestology10. So it's biooptimizers.com/Zestology. Use the code Zestology10. We all have those rather long Black Friday wish lists. And this year, I challenge you to put your health at the top of the list. Go to biooptimizers.com/Zestology. Instead of those impulse purchases, focus on what really matters when it comes to your health. If you're in the UK, go to biooptimizers.co.uk, same discount code. And anywhere else in the world, don't miss out on this mega deal. Loads of supplements in the BIOptimizers line, which I love. It's biooptimizers.com/Zestology, code Zestology10. Now, back to the show. So there's obviously the mold and the air conditioning you look at, and the quality of the air. Then one of the things that I think a lot about is products that I use in terms of cleaning. And I know you're quite hot on that as well.
Yeah, I'm quite hard on that because I think we're exposed to so many toxins already on a daily basis. So when we have it in our own hands, then we should do something about it. Because when you go outside and you're exposed to outdoor air pollution, you can't really do much. But everything at home, especially your cleaning products, are not that expensive to change. I even recommend to do some of them yourself. And it's really inexpensive and it makes a big difference. The clothes you wear, your laundry detergent, your bed sheets, and you also wash your bed sheets in laundry detergent. So that already makes a big difference. Actually, a lot of people develop skin issues like eczema because of the detergent they wash their clothes in, or their shampoo or their soap, etc., etc.
Yeah. So some of the things you get people to do themselves, are you one of these vinegar and baking soda fans?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I use it myself.
Tell me what to do, because I was just talking to Kirsty, who I think you know of, who lives here in Lagos, and she does that as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I got it from my mom. My mom is really alternative. She doesn't use any products that is like not self-made. So I got all the recipes from her. She uses just baking soda. Oftentimes she just mixes that with water to clean everything in the kitchen. Sometimes she adds vinegar. Sometimes she adds a bit of lemon juice. So yeah, it's really not that difficult to do that.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Because this is all the sort of thing that you would just have around the home anyway. It really is non-toxic.
Yes.
And, it's funny. I wanted to talk to you about this stuff today anyway, but it's been particularly top of mind with me recently because, as you know, we're in Portugal, and we've actually had, since you left Portugal, we've had incredible storms here. And everyone keeps saying to us they've not had rain like this in the last 5 years in Portugal, or certainly where we are. And so it has been quite damp. And we've had a few ants pop up in our flat. And when I say ants, quite a few. in one particular area in the bathroom. So obviously, I don't want to use toxic ant killer, which is what the owners of the property brought around. They were like, just put that down, it'll kill them all. And I'm sure it will, but I don't really want to breathe it in or touch it or anything else. So I've been doing all sorts of research around what ants don't really like. And one of those things is baking soda.
And did you also check the hole where they're coming from?
Yes. That's
the smartest solution, right?
Well, it is. Yeah, it's a bit more complicated than that because it's under the bath. And I'm not quite sure how they're getting in, but short of sort of sealing it all up, it's a bit complicated. But yeah.
But usually baking soda helps with everything. And that also helps actually if you have new furniture, new carpet, or new textiles at your home. Just put a bit of baking soda on it because a lot of these normal carpets, they contain a lot of toxic substances like formaldehyde. And if you put baking soda on it, you reduce the amount of it immediately.
Really?
Yeah, oftentimes when you buy something new at the furniture store, you can really smell when you come in the room. It smells toxic, and that's a bad sign. And a lot of people don't have the money to invest in ecological furniture because it's really, really expensive. Like a normal ecological bed could cost 10,000, so it's not really manageable for everyone. I understand that. But what you can really do is to put baking soda on top of that.
That's great.
And then just over vacuum clean the carpet or whatever, and then it's gone.
Yeah. No, a few years ago I bought a new car, and everyone always says, "Oh, that new car smell, it's lovely, isn't it?" And I was thinking the opposite. Yeah. So I actually bought something that plugged into the cigarette lighter and was just an air purifier for the car, which I used while I was driving it about for the first 6 months or so, because that is pure toxins, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. A lot of things that we can smell. We have to know everything we can smell enters our system. And everything that we can smell increases particulate matter in the air, which is harsh on our lungs. That's why I'm also not the biggest fan of essential oil diffusers, because a lot of people say they're so much better than the artificial ones, but we still breathe in this particulate matter the whole day. So yeah, it's not really ideal. I think essential oils have their place if you want to heal from something or you're sick or so, but on a daily basis, I wouldn't use them.
Right. Yeah. What about pillows? What do you think about pillows?
Pillows?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's important to buy because we sleep on them 8 hours every night and we spend 1/3 of our time
on a pillow. Yeah.
On a pillow in bed. So there I would really invest in natural fibers.
Yeah.
And I would also invest in the duvet, that it's like cotton or linen in summer is great. Or in winter, I use wool. In summer, I use linen and cotton. These are the things I use for that.
Yeah. And again, you're right. But when you say we spend 1/3 of our life on it, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And it's bloody expensive to buy organic pillows made out of bamboo or duck feather or whatever it is.
I know, but I think this is like a one-time investment. You don't have to buy every year new duvets and new pillows, etc. So if you invest one time in it, it will be really worth it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we've struggled to find that sort of organic type of pillow and duvet here in Portugal, actually. So a lot of very cheap pillows in the supermarket, but not much in terms of really good quality stuff.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so just bring me some back when you come back from there, yeah?
Okay.
Great. So I feel that's the home ticked off a little bit. And then what are you most excited about at the moment in terms of what you're working on with your clients and your community?
So lately I switched from working with all sorts of clients to more working with females, because that's what I did basically my whole career. I mostly worked with women, so I just focused more on that. I also focus on fertility with women and hormonal problems, which a lot of women have. So that's at the moment my main subject that I'm interested in. Yeah,
great. And then talking about hormonal issues, I guess for men and women, that can come from things like toxic products in the home, can't it?
That's one of the main reasons so many people have all these hormonal imbalances, men and women, because if you look at ancient times, we would have such clean air, we would have such clean food, we would detox naturally, but nowadays we're exposed to so many toxins. Our liver has to work so hard to get rid of them, and there are just too many. And this then can create hormonal problems. Because in the liver, for instance, we convert T4, thyroid hormone, into the active form T3. But if the liver is already doing so many other things, then we can have problems with that. And that's just, the science is called epigenetics, how our environment affects our gene expression. And today we can really see that our environment is not really the best for a thriving human.
Yeah. Something I always enjoy asking people in our world is, how do you deal with the stress of knowing that so many things around us, for example, I'm in Lagos today in Portugal, and I'm going to go out and get some lunch in a minute, and it's quite hard to find a sort of a healthy lunch. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with the stress of knowing that you're wearing, I don't know, a jumper that's half polyester, or that you go for lunch and there's loads of vegetable oils, or that you've always got choices to make, but you can sometimes, I guess the reason I'm interested is because when I started actually chilling out on some of these choices and not being quite so radical with my health choices, I actually got healthier, ironically, because I just started to relax.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think for a lot of people, especially in the biohacking space, they're so extreme that they can't really enjoy day-to-day activities anymore, or they have to restrict themselves when they go on a family birthday. And this is not how it should be. I think this can create more stress, more cortisol production than actually just eating the bad thing. And our body can still deal with a lot of toxins. But it's more about, I think, to find a balance. The things that you have in your routine. For instance, I just don't buy anything that is not made out of natural fibers. But of course, that takes time to establish that routine and to really look after these things in your daily life, also when you go to the shop. And then if you eat once out, in a restaurant, for instance, then it's really not a problem. I think it's different if you would eat out every single day and would go to McDonald's once a week, for instance, that would be a problem. But if your lifestyle is 80% good and 20% suboptimal, that's not an issue, because again, when you stress too much over it, then you will also have problems from that.
Yeah, and the clothes, so you wear only natural?
Yeah, clothes? I only wear natural clothes, yes.
Wow, yeah. That's a really good one. And that's something I've started to think about more recently. And you just look at the labels of everything, and it's so if you think that there's really good quality stuff, and actually, it's, even if it's 30% polyester or man-made fibers or...
It's so annoying, especially if you go just into normal shops. They even write on the label, responsible wool, and then I look, and then it's like 50% wool and 50% polyester. It's just a marketing trick. That's why I really, either I know the shop is really 100% natural, or I don't even go there, because it's just, you will not find it. You will look 1 hour for just one piece that's 100% natural fibers.
Yeah. And essentially that is plastic. So you're wearing plastic on your skin, and your body absorbs what is on it. Yeah.
And then we also have to see that on top of that, we not only have more stresses than we ever had before, but we also have less nutrients available in our diet that help us to cope with these stressors. And then we have so many activities like we never had ever before. And then we go on Instagram and we get so much information. Like in 1 second, we see so many different things, what's happening in the world, what's happening in the US, what's happening in Australia. But it doesn't really affect us right here, right now, but it's still in our mind, and we still have to process all these emotions.
Yeah.
And that, of course, can create even more stress, because we are always connected, we are always informed, and we are overwhelmed by too much information that doesn't help us, but that creates, just an overwhelm of information.
Yeah, I totally agree. Managing that is a challenge, especially if you're a news junkie like I am.
Yes.
And that's what got me, what made me a good journalist, because I read everything, but now I have to sort of unlearn that a little bit, because I'm not working as a day-to-day journalist in the same way.
I guess it also creates, a lot of stress.
Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, what is one book that you would recommend and one tip for living with more energy and vitality? So any book that's had a resonance, it could be fiction, it could be something you're reading at the moment, and one tip for living with more energy.
For living with, wow, there's so many books that pop up right now in my mind. It's hard to pick one out. You mean for beginners or for people that are already a bit more to that?
I guess, I mean, whatever you prefer, you know, I mean, I would describe Zestology listeners as probably not beginners. So Zestology listeners are fairly hardcore, I think. So they can handle it.
Okay, I like Deep Nutrition from Dr. Shanahan. Have you heard of her?
Kate Shanahan, I have heard of her. Yeah, yeah.
Kate Shanahan, and it's about epigenetics. It's a really good book. She basically describes how our current lifestyle also affects the next generation and how it affects pregnancy and how it affects even IQ of children that are born to people in today's generation.
Wow. Okay, brilliant.
Book.
Yeah, yeah, excellent. And then what about one tip?
One tip? The best tip I can always give is live as close to nature as possible. Try to have less screen time, eat more unprocessed foods, and live in tune with your natural light cycle, your circadian rhythm. And that's just the most basic tip, but that's also the tip that makes the biggest changes.
Lovely. Laura, it's really good to talk. I think we should do a couple of podcasts when you come back to Portugal. You can walk me through my home and tell me where I'm going wrong. And then
we should do that. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be great. And where can people find out more about you and everything you're doing?
On my Instagram, @Miss Biohacker.
Yeah, which is excellent. And I always love your posts on there. It's good because you don't post that often, but when you post, it's pure value, isn't it?
Yeah, I try to not do what everyone else does. I try to really bring new research and new content to Instagram. That's why I'm not posting that often.
Yeah. Yeah, your posts around grey hairs, I think, were particularly popular, weren't they?
That's true, yeah. A lot of people reach out to me afterwards. How can I reverse my grey hair?
Yeah, great. All right, well, it's lovely to talk to you. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you as well. And talk to you soon.
Yeah, see you in Portugal.
Yes, see you in Portugal.
That is it. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. And we are right in the middle of the Black Friday, Cyber Monday madness. And my podcast partners this month are BIOptimizers. Their Black Friday mega sale has been in full swing all month. It's pretty impressive. And as you know, I've been teaming up with BIOptimizers for couple of years, to be honest, mainly Magnesium Breakthrough. They're the sort of the number one supplement that I absolutely love, but so many of their other supplements, and actually, including Sleep Breakthrough, by the way, and actually the biggest discount you can get and amazing gifts this month as well with purchases are available only on a special page just for Black Friday, which is bioptimizers.com/Zestology. When you go there, use the code Zestology10. As I say, you'll be getting gifts and all sorts of other goodies in there as well. And I do think when it comes to Black Friday, you don't want to be spending on stuff that you're not going to use. You want to be spending on your health. That is what I challenge you to do this Black Friday. You don't need another Hoover. You need a great supplement that's going to make you feel better. Get the magnesium supplements, the sleep supplements, the digestion supplements, the nootropics, everything else at bioptimizers.com/Zestology. Use the code Zestology10 and that's it. Have a great week. Enjoy Thanksgiving and all the associated Black Friday, Cyber Monday celebrations, and see you next week.